Good morning.
Good morning.
I actually am saying good morning to you because usually it's my morning and someone else's afternoon, but you are actually behind me. So,
Yes.
where are you? What time is it?
Well, I am currently on my parents' farm in New South Wales, Australia. So we're in like the northern part of the state. So it's about 8 in the morning here, and I'm just so happy to talk to someone in a similar-ish time zone. It's such a novelty.
It's nice, isn't it? Okay, everyone. So, for those who have not met Jess, this is Jessica Kate. Um, this is her latest release, January, February.
Yep, January 28th.
January. So there we go, A Girl's Guide to the Outback, which is a contemporary romance which just came out with Thomas Nelson in January. As you can see by my bookmark, I have just started it.
Yay!
Yeah, it's very fun. I'm very enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to getting back to the Australian outback because you know how much I love that. So, and you had one other release, didn't you, with Thomas Nelson last year, Love and Other Mistakes.
That's it. Yeah, that came out back in July. So it was a big year.
Yeah, 2 books in 6 months. I did that with my first two, and you feel like you never stop moving.
Yeah, yeah, the pandemic is kind of like, oh wow, I feel like I've stopped moving for the first time in like 2 years of frantic, frantic energy.
I know, it's crazy, eh? All right, so you are in New South Wales, Australia, on your
hmm
parents' farm. So tell us a little bit about kind of, I guess, what the lockdown situation is in Australia.
hmm
What your life is like now, what your life was like before. Yeah, let's start there.
Cool. Well, Australia is locked down pretty tight. We've got about 6,000 cases of COVID and we've had just under 60 deaths, I think. And so we've actually been locked down fairly tight since we got to about 15 deaths. So I've been here for 3 weeks now, and we're at the stage now where in New South Wales is one of the tightest lockdown states, and you can't leave your house unless you're like going to the shops or going to the doctor, and the police will pull you over and ask you where you're going, and ask to see the groceries in the back of your car, and if you can't show that you're going from your house to the doctor or the supermarket, then you get like $1,000 fine. So every
Wow.
day on the news we're seeing things about people who like went to a mate's place to play video games and then they all cop $1,000 fines and stuff like that. So they're really trying hard to keep everyone in their houses. You can't even leave to just drive around. So I'm so glad that I'm on the farm and can at least you can leave for exercise, but yeah, you can't stop power walking because then you're not exercising. So glad I'm on the farm and we can kind of roam around and play in the garden and do some different stuff and have a bit of room to move.
And so you don't usually live on your parents' farm in NSW, do
No,
you?
I do not. I live in Queensland, in my house up there. And as soon as I heard them starting to talk about closing the state borders, I live there with a housemate in my house, but it's just the two of us and it's very quiet. And she works at a supermarket, so she's very busy at the moment at the supermarket dealing with all the crazy people. I'll tell you what, be nice to your supermarket people, folks, because the abuse she has taken in the last 3 weeks is ridiculous. Um, and so it
Like
would be
for
just
being out of stock of stuff, or people just
just
angry at the world?
anything. Yeah, they can't find what they want. There's not enough registers open. They trying to steal stuff and don't like being told not to steal stuff. Like just anything and everything. It's just been crazy. People fighting over packets of toilet paper and stuff. One morning they opened and all the people ran into the shop for the toilet paper and started fighting over it, and someone went around the back of the aisle and climbed up over the shelves and got it from over the top. But yeah, she
Okay, we should talk about this because
mhm.
why the run in Australia on toilet paper?
I
It's
don't
what
know.
we didn't. I mean, in New Zealand we had hand sanitizer and flour, which kind of
Yep.
make a little bit more sense to me, and yeast. Um,
hmm
but but the what's talk to me about the Australian state of mind around toilet paper.
I don't know. Apparently, America's had the same run on toilet paper. I think people just thought emergency supply, and that's one of the first things they thought of. But I don't know. Everyone just sort of started to panic buy, and then it was like this cascading effect, domino effect, where they thought, oh no, everyone else is panic buying, maybe I should just grab something a little extra. And it just hasn't ended. Still, you still can't buy flour. Like, it's been a long time since the panic buying started now. You know, we're a good 6 weeks at least into the serious version of this sort of crisis. So I thought it would have abated, and because everyone's ramped up production, so they're meant to be bringing extra stuff. So I thought it would have balanced back out now as people calm down. No. So I don't know. People have just gone nuts. It's been quite disappointing, actually. I'd hoped Australia would handle it better.
Yeah, because when I first saw the toilet paper thing, I kind of thought, well, okay, so that'll last for a couple of weeks, and then everyone will have these stocked up for like 3 months, and then there'll be a big glut of toilet paper in the supply chain because everyone will stop buying it because they have their supplies.
That's what I thought.
But no. See, our shortage of flour situation in New Zealand, we discovered recently, has nothing to do with the flour. So we have heaps of flour, but they've run out of packaging because like they only, you know, like the kind of the little, you know, 1 to 5 kilo bags that you get in the supermarket. One of the millers said that they went through a year's worth of packaging on that in 2 weeks. And so the supply of flour packaging is still, I think, like he said, 4 or 5 weeks away from getting new stocks. So we have flour, we just can't get to it because there's no packaging.
Just sit it out in buckets and let us scoop it up, people. I have a bread maker and I'm so annoyed. I've almost run out of my flour and we can't get any more. That's what annoys me. You can buy bread, like already made bread at the supermarket. They're crappy, yucky bread, but you can't buy flour to make my good bread at home. It's so annoying.
So are you working from home? Like, what's your kind of working situation?
Yeah, so I work for a small bank, and thankfully we were pretty much equipped to just swap to, our IT department had to do some very fast work because we never expected the whole bank to go working from home at once, with the exception of our awesome retail staff. But yeah, they got stuck in, and we went from a bank where everyone pretty much worked in the head office or one of the satellite offices to everyone being at home in like a week or 2. So that was lucky, because if this had happened, you know, even 3 years ago, I only got a laptop at work about 2 or 3 years ago. So if this had happened in 2015, it would be a completely different story, I feel like, for a lot of businesses.
Oh, totally. I mean, similarly, I'm in the public service, and we got laptops like pretty much this time last year. They rolled them out across kind of the whole organization. Before that, you know, it was only kind of very senior or specialized people who had them. And we went from, on like the Thursday, whenever that was, from kind of that week, our CE was like, okay, we're gonna have a practice run. So like during the next week, if you can all just get your staff to work at home for 1 day and make sure that they're set up, that would be great. So that was kind of like the week before. Then on the Monday, our Prime Minister announced that we were going into like level 4 lockdown on the Wednesday midnight. So from a week, we went from being like, okay, we're just going to have a bit of a practice run, to like a week later, 2,500 people working from home. And our IT people had to work like 24/7 for that week to kind of stand everything.
I felt so sorry for our guys. All the pressure was on them. And, you know, we had to buy extra bandwidth because we weren't set up for everyone to be, you know, logging in online and stuff. So they've done a good job. Things. Yeah. And we were the same. It was when I heard that you guys were locking down, I was at work on the Monday and I heard about New Zealand locking down. And at the same time, they announced that Queensland was going to close its state borders. And I thought, holy cow, I don't want to get stuck here and have mum and dad on the other side of the border. Because I definitely would much rather, I've got mum and dad here and my little sister, and my brother and sister-in-law live on the same property. So here at least I've like got people around. As an extrovert, staying at home was just not an option. So I went home that night, I cleared it with my boss, I packed everything up. I've brought almost everything out of my room, all my DVDs, because I was like, worst case, I'm here for 6 months and the Netflix goes down. So I brought every movie in my collection and my car was like packed to the roof, and I drove down the next day. And I went from thinking that I'd do a day or 2 a week working from home to working from home like indefinitely for, who knows.
So pretty big changes from your life a month ago to your life today. You're not even in the same place.
Yep. Nope, completely different, routine. I've lived out of home for 8 years, so it's pretty different living back at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've all done pretty well.
Yeah, and because here we're officially on lockdown until 22nd of April, and then we kind of find out if it's been extended or if we're going down a level, which, I mean, even our lockdown level 3 is still reasonably rigid. And what about in NSW? Like, is it kind of uncertain?
They said when they first really tightened it up that it would probably go till June 30.
Wow.
And since they've said that it would be reviewed like month by month, but really they've positioned everyone to really expect it till June 30, but they're not really promising we'll get let out then. They've started changing their wording to say like life will be different for a really long time. And so how different, how locked down we are, we don't know. I'm trying not to think about that because I have a pregnant sister due in September and I very much want to be able to get back across the border to see that baby by then. So hopefully it will be all unlocked.
Well, so September's 5 months away. So surely.
Come on, guys.
Yeah. So what does your life look like now on the farm, working from the farm?
Yeah, now, I mean, I've tried to replicate my home like schedule so that I can try and be a bit productive. I will be honest, I haven't hardly written anything in sort of the last 3 weeks because it's just being out of routine and everything sort of unsettled in the world made it very hard to think. So I've just done podcasting stuff, but now I've like replicated my routine here and I've used Easter weekend to sort of get back into writing. So I still get up early, I work on book stuff, and if I was at home, I would drive to work and I have a bit of a walk from where I park in the cheapy free zone all the way down to where work is. So now I like do my big morning walk just down the farm driveway, and then I sit in this outdoor room and do my work from home stuff all day. And then by the time I'm finished, my 12-year-old sister is kind of pressed up against the glass like, come out and play with me. So she lets me get a little bit of book work in afterwards, and then she's like, no more working, come and play.
Wow. I think that's been one of the hardest things for our family is because like Josh and I are both working from home. We're both working from our bedroom in the most unergonomic setup ever because like 2 days we had no warning, so there's no time to buy desks or chairs or anything like this. So I pretty much work really in this chair, and he works kind of on the other side of our bedroom, like usually sitting on the floor.
Oh no.
And then one of us, if we're both on calls at the same time, one of us has to like relocate into a different room, which usually ends up with us in the toddler's bedroom next door. And then for the kids, because we've got 3 kids who are 8 and under who are all at home as well because there's no school, there's no playgroup, there's nothing. So I think that's been one of the hardest things for them. Here's one now. That we're here, but we're not here. Can you say hi to Jess? This is the oldest one. So that's been really tricky because we are, sometimes we're working like this. We're here, but we're like, Mummy and Daddy are working, like, we're not actually here to play with you. And so then the 3-year-old will wander in at like some random time you're on a Zoom meeting and you'll get, Mummy, come and play with me.
Yeah, it's torture.
Alright, love you, off you go.
Mama, it's a Saturday.
It's not a Saturday, it's an Easter Monday. It is a public holiday and I'm still doing this. Alright. So yeah, and then it's like we feel like we never leave work because now we work where we sleep, and it's a bit bonkers. Josh the other day, I'd gone off to do something, and I'd said to him, "Oh, do you want to borrow, my chair because you're working mostly off the floor?" And he's like, yeah, that'd be great. And then I come out and he's doing a Zoom meeting. He has this really odd look on his face. And he had like started the Zoom meeting without realizing that one of my bras was like draped over the back of the chair. He was like 5 minutes into a Zoom meeting and then like kind of properly looked at his screen and realized there's kind of like this bra draped over his shoulder. He's like, chucking it away. I'm like, you got to clear your background, honey. Like, you got to check where you got.
I heard that someone was, I like saw it on the news or something, someone was zooming into their work and their partner didn't realise and walked naked behind them.
Tally ho!
Oh, it's so funny.
Oh, yeah, you just suddenly, it's like all these things that you never thought about before.
Oh, yeah, I know. Even at our bank, the woman who is, you know, our senior executive actually has 2 young boys. And the other day she was trying to Zoom into a meeting with the CEO and didn't realise that the audio was on while the kids were going ballistic.
Yeah.
And yeah, the CEO got to know them a lot better.
They get to hear your finest parenting moments.
Yeah.
Go away! I'm in a meeting!
Yeah. So thankfully we've just got the 12-year-old and she's doing very well with being patient for me to finish work and come out.
Is school out for her too? Like, is she at home?
She had been homeschooling up until this Easter weekend,
right.
And now she's on 2 weeks holidays. So now she's going to be even more bored because at least she had school stuff to do while I was working. But yeah, now she's back to being on her own.
So let's talk about book stuff, because you talked about creativity has been a struggle, which I think is probably the case for almost all of us who are working in some kind of creative space. So
I think so.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about kind of what you're working on at the moment and how it's going. And obviously releasing a new book into January and then hot on its heels comes a global pandemic, which most of us never had in our marketing plans.
Yep. I mean, with that, the good thing, at least I guess, is that I am almost kind of used to marketing in pandemic mode because I live in Australia and, you know, I have an American publisher, as do you, and so many of our friends are Americans who can do like a lot of face-to-face events. But here I just kind of have the one book launch at my bookstore and I haven't had a lot of other face-to-face stuff apart from that. I am starting to build up to try and do more, but normally like a good 95% of my marketing is online anyway. So that part of it hasn't changed too much for me. But yeah, I definitely feel, I'm glad mine got out at least 6 weeks before the pandemic. I really feel for my friends who are launching, you know, next month and are feeling the heat of that a bit. But what am I working on at the moment? Well, I feel lucky because I'm a little bit between projects at the moment. I have a book proposal in to Thomas Nelson, and then the pandemic hit. And so, you know, obviously it just makes things a little bit harder for them and slows all their processes down. So we're still waiting to hear back about that. But in the meantime, I'm just kind of playing with my favorite idea anyway. So I have no confirmed directions from them yet or anything like that. But I figured, hey, I've got some free time. Let's just get back into writing. I haven't written a new book since A Girl's Guide to the Outback, which I actually wrote in 2017. And I've been editing those 2 books and launching them sort of ever since. So I wanted to get back into the writing a new book process and try and get at least a bit of a head start because it's actually been quite a while since I did it. So I'm luckily in that fun creative zone at the moment of I don't have a deadline pressure yet and I'm able to just kind of play around and see what happens. And so I think I'm having the most fun I've ever had writing a book, so that's good.
It is funny because that whole thing of being on a contract and being on a deadline just brings a different dynamic into it.
Yeah, and I've never written under contract before. I had both books written before I got my contract, so I'm nervous about it. I'm getting all the head start I possibly can. Yeah,
I remember because I wrote So Close to You was my first book, and that got contracted in late 2014. And then I had Can't Help Falling, which was my second book that I wrote under contract. So I started writing that in February of 2015, and it was due in October of 2015. And so at the same time, I was doing all of the edits as well.
That's a killer.
And that was bananas. And I'm usually like it usually takes me 9 months to a year to kind of to do a book, to get it through my process, because my process is not particularly straightforward. So suddenly having to write a book from nothing, like literally from 2 lines on a contract, like I think it said in the contract, like set in Oxford Narnia theme, like, so that was in my contract. And 85,000 words. So having to go from that in February to turning in like a complete book in October, like I was just like, wow, like this is not as fun as, you know, kind of just playing around and taking your time, because, you know, like most of us, when our first book is contracted, like we've usually been working on that book and, you know, rewriting it and finessing it and polishing it and entering it in contests and all the rest of it for a while. And then suddenly it's like, and now you need to give us a new book in 9 months. And it's like, okay, all right. Wow, we haven't tried this muscle before.
Yep, very much. Yeah, my first drafts for the first 2 books both took a year, and then I had at least another 6 to 12 months just to do my second drafts. So the thought of getting it up to a standard where I can send it into my editor quickly, I'm like, oh man. I mean, I'm 30,000 words into the draft of the idea I'm playing with, which I have no idea if they want or not. But that 30,000 words is mostly missing punctuation. I've changed what jobs the people have 3 times, and I don't go back and fix anything. I just keep going forward, because I'll figure it out by the end, and then I'll go back and fix it once I know what I want, but I won't work it out till the end. So it's like, it's a hot mess at the moment.
But at least you got a head start.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. They might pick a different idea, and then I'll start from scratch on that.
That's exactly it. I mean, that happens sometimes. They're like, maybe not. How about something like this? And you're like, well, I had no head start on this.
Yep.
So what is keeping you sane right now, and what are you missing the most?
Keeping me sane is probably long walks down the driveway and podcasts and stuff. And I'm an extrovert, so I'm just getting all the human contact that I can, basically ringing friends, or we've got some Marco Polo groups set up on my phone with like the video messaging, or Voxer, where we leave voice messages for each other. So I've got a few author friend groups where I've got that set up with, so that's nice, keeping in touch with people that way. And podcasts are a big part of my routine when I'm at home. Every time I'm driving in my car or walking down to work, I'm listening to podcasts, or when I'm cooking my dinner, or different sorts of things. So I still find that if I can go for a walk down the driveway, because I've found it's really hard to go from when you're working from home, if you've just worked 8 hours, to then switch and be like, okay, now I'm going to pull up my personal laptop and I'm going to work on my book for another 3 hours. No, your brain is like, get stuffed. We're not doing that.
No.
But if I was at work, I would be able to do that. And that's because I've had the break of like walking back to my car and listening to a podcast and relaxing, and then driving for a bit, and it's like giving me a break. So I've had to like build those walks and stuff back into the routine, and that really helps and stuff. And so far, I have to be honest, I'm kind of just enjoying the break from routine. I'm sure by the time I've been here for 3 months and not seen any other people, we'll be climbing the walls a little bit. But at the moment, my life is pretty full on back at home, because I've got day job, novel writing, 2 podcasts now. I've just got a lot of stuff flying around. And so being able to sit in one spot and keep those things up, but not have to go anywhere or do anything else, I'm kind of like, this is nice to just sit and have like a lot of time with mum and dad, and not a short little visit on the weekend. So I'm sure that'll wear off, but it's been nice break at the moment.
It's kind of interesting, isn't it? Like, just I know for us, when it was announced on March 23rd that we were going into lockdown, you kind of just watch your calendar clear for the most part for the next month. I mean, because we've got 3 kids, obviously, so we've got, you know, kids' birthday parties and extracurricular activities and all this stuff, and suddenly you're like, that's all gone. Like, you know, we're not showing up for anything for at least a month.
Yeah.
So suddenly you're like, wow, like you have all of this. I mean, you have all of this time, but also like there are some things that take a lot longer. You know, like previously I used to do our grocery shopping online, and it got delivered, and now you can't get a delivery slot for love or money, and so grocery shopping becomes like a 3-hour event. But by the time you've gone to the supermarket and you've stood in a queue for 45 minutes, and you know all of those things, is suddenly like, okay, right, this is not half an hour on an internet late at night anymore. This is an actual thing. Cool. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time today. Everyone, I'm giving away a copy of Jess's latest release, A Girl's Guide to the Outback. So
Yay!
leave a comment. And okay, you're gonna have to dream up a question now, Jess.
Oh, what's the question? What is your favourite piece of Aussie slang?
There we go. Okay, what's your favourite piece of Aussie slang? So leave a comment and I will draw a winner in a couple of days. Thank you for your time. It was so lovely to chat to you.
Awesome. It was great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Talk to you later.
Bye.